Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of my creative process. In this session, I am doing a still life drawing and I am drawing entirely using the eye to hand method coordination. I'm not working with grids or scales, so I'm translating the picture directly onto the paper. Now, as you can see, I am beginning with a sketch and I'm beginning with a very light grade of pencil, which is the H pencil, which has more of clay than carbon. Therefore, it is very light and it gives us more room for errors, and we can clean and go back over it again if we are not satisfied with the sketch. I started with and I arranged the object using my understanding of proportions, which I would explain as we continue to progress on this channel. One of the most important things to have done is getting your proportions right. It sounds it's the basic and the major foundation, and when it is done right, every other thing falls in place. If you can get your foundation and your sketch and proportions right, there's every chance of you getting your drawing right and excellently well. If you can make your shadings, your tones, and all your values align, including your highlights too. So these are like the major things to note when making a drawing: proportions, highlights, shadows, shade, and mid-tone transition. That is tonal gradation. So after having done the first sketch, I'm going to go over it with a foam to just blend everything into the background and make it kind of subtle, so I can go over it with another pencil again, which is more defined. This is a mechanical pencil. After having done that, I'm going to proceed to going dark with my charcoal, beginning with the darkest point. I ensure to stick with the really darkest point so that it can give this full effect of tonal gradation from the lightest to the dark. And I'm working with starting from where the light source is coming against. So there is where the light is coming from, and it's coming from the right in this drawing. So basically we're blocking the shadows from that part, going very dark first before we can build it and blend it into the light. This is the method which I usually approach my drawings. I begin from the dark sides and then I build the mid-tones and then blend it all together, and then I can top it up with the highlight, which kind of gives the picture a round and finished look in the end. So after having done this, I proceed to go in very dark on the entire picture, and starting with the dark sides, the shade. Working it like this make the work process really easy for me because I know where to come in from. And sometimes I can just go in on the really dark side and then add the highlights or the light tones, where I can then bring my brush to blend in everything in the middle, giving it a really subtle place of joint where it transitions gradually from the darkest to the lightest. And after having done that, then I can come in with the highlights. It is personally my favorite part because it's kind of like, hey, this thing was flat, but now it's here. Not like it's entirely flat, but it gives it a more 3D effect when you can just come and put that highlight there. So it's really wonderful. So this after having getting the sketch properly done, it's not very difficult if you totally and entirely understand the concept of light, how it works on objects, round objects, flat objects, and pretty much solid objects. And in this picture, working with round objects and flat objects, we can see that there is the idea of refraction where light bends around an object, as you can see on the vase and the orange and even the cup, because there seems to be this area where it's kind of lit up despite the fact that light is not coming from that part. It's a really interesting thing to note that light can move around and bend around objects. The drawing is taking a full shape, and one thing that makes it really pop again is the contrast of all the objects against the background. It gives it this idea of finished, and it makes it just stand out. In this practice session, I am just opening myself to the understanding of how these things work, because sometimes you cannot really understand that this is how certain things are until you put it into practice. And here's an important point I'd like to note: draw what you see and not what you know. That really helps a lot if you can understand that. So now I'm just gonna go in with my eraser to attach and put in the finished touches and place the highlights where it should be. Then I can compare the both drawings which I did the previous day and this one which I'm currently working on, to just compare and contrast. And it's pretty amazing that I can do this. It's not something I would usually do, going back to a drawing again. I'd like to know what you think of this, and if you've learned anything, please drop it in the comment. I'm interested in getting your feedback. Thank you for watching.